Information
Okay,
Officer
let's
with the
listen
Oregon
in right
Department of
now
Forestry.
as they are preparing and
Incident management
identifying
team
and
too.
introducing people
We were called
at the
this
press
morning
conference. Let's
to come
listen.
down and join in unified command with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office Green Team to help on the South Valley fire here. And I can tell you that as of 6 o'clock tonight, as of now, we are actually transferring command from the local district to the two teams in place. And while that's transferring is happening now, we've actually been out there working all day trying to keep the fire in check. One thing that you might have noticed today is we did have a pretty good column of smoke just south of Winslow Road. And that column is primarily burning in patches or fingers of timber. And the good news is the fire is on kind of a slow path, being pushed by a north wind. And right now the wind is shifting a little bit from the northwest, pushing it more into a southeast pattern. And that's good for us because it's pushing it back into the fire scar that burned overnight. Last report that we got was the fire is about 20,000 acres, and we're working very hard in that area just south of that road with air tankers, other aircraft, lots of ground forces including bulldozers and hand crews, and trying to get our hands around that. That's our #1 priority. As far as the other parts of the fire, what we know right now is things are looking pretty good. So that's why we're focusing all of our efforts on that. It's pretty much that southwest corner of the fire, or not even southwest, but more the west portion of the fire that's been blowing from the north winds. So with that, I think that before I take any questions, if there are any, I'll turn it over to Stefan from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Green Team, to talk about the structure protection that we have in place. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. My name's Stefan Myers. I'm with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Public Information Officer. What I wanted to share with you is a couple updates that we have tonight, but as you saw from the large column of smoke, some of the work that was done today was unfortunately not around what we were hoping to do in assessing structures and working into getting a better idea of how many have been destroyed or damaged at this point. Instead, we're working to protect those structures that may be in the path of the fire from some of this new fire activity. What I do have is a couple numbers to share with you. We still have 6 task force that are here. Those are from around the state, different counties and fire districts that have come together to come support this community. They've been working since last night and through the evening and through today. Right now, our updated number for homes that are threatened, that's 172. So that means 516 people impacted right now by evacuations and the fire behavior that's taking place. Anecdotally, I just want to share, we've had a lot of close calls today in which we were worried about homes that we weren't going to be able to save. I'm proud to say that because of the work of our firefighters out there, we've had no loss since our task forces from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office has come in. But we realize even with those small wins that we're getting, this community's been through a lot. And that's why we want to be really responsive in working with those that are in this community to provide them with as much information as possible and support them if they were to lose their home. And to that end, we're looking to bring the community together within the next 24 hours to provide an update, make available some of our operations staff so that they can ask the questions they want, and we can make sure we're responsive to what their concerns and needs are. Also, I want to let you know for updates, we have Wasco County Sheriff's Office is posting updates regarding evacuation levels. All of the deputies and the sheriff have been out there by individually talking to homeowners about their risk and evacuating them when necessary. But they have information. We're also sharing that on a Facebook page that actually is a continuation of our substation fire page. We've been able to convert that to speak to a community that already lived in this area. As I said, they've been through a lot. This has been a rough couple months, so we're trying to really make sure that we're responsive to those needs and concerns. We also have a fire information line. That's 503-597-8076. So if they have questions, which we're getting from Tye Valley to the Dalles to Coos Bay. People wondering about their family members that are in this area and if they're affected, that's a number they can call to find the most recent update. We also have a big thank you to offer to the Salvation Army. They've been out here supporting not only the firefighters, but homeowners and other people that are out there being impacted by the fire. And the Red Cross does have support available. They have at the ready evacuation center in the Dalles. And so need, just call and let them know that you have a need and you need a place to stay at night, and they'll be able to support. At this time, I'll have Tom join me again, and we'll answer any questions and speak to different areas of expertise we might have.
On the topic of homes and structures, do you have a concrete number as to how many have been lost so far?
I don't. I do know that structures have been lost. As we said this evening, this morning, we were hoping to have a more concrete number, but we've had to move resources into different positions to protect new structures that were under threat, and that's why that number's gone up. But at this point, we don't have concrete numbers on destroyed or damaged buildings or primary residencies.
Any idea how large the fire is now? At last check, it was 20,000. Has it grown?
Yeah, we actually, at this point, we're holding at 20,000. As Tom alluded to, we do have a lot of fire activity, but perimeter for the most part has been pretty steady. Tonight, though, we're going to get an infrared flight that's going to really give us a great, accurate number as to what the current fire perimeter is.
What is the plan for tonight?
Yeah, well, the fire... we're hoping as the fire lays down, specifically we're going to be able to work into some areas that maybe we couldn't get access to immediately, assessing any of those structures that we were able to save, see if there's hot spots and new potential dangers to them. I'll let Tom speak to maybe some of the containment and work they're going to do in that area.
Yeah, so we believe strongly in a 24-hour system where we have day shifts and night shifts. So we'll bring on some night crews tonight that will work around the perimeter of the fire, especially in the area that we've been focusing on today. Again, it's in light flashy fuels along with those strings of timber, so it is to our advantage to get a little closer to the fire when the wind dies down, and that generally happens in the evening. So they made great hay last night, made a lot of good work last night, and we're hoping for the same tonight, and hopefully we have a pretty good, a better hold on things first thing tomorrow morning.
Any additional resources coming in tonight?
Well, we're on the phone. We're trying to pull people in. As you're aware, we're in a preparedness level of 5 here in the region and nationally, which means resources are very hard to come by. So we're doing all we can to get as many people here as we can, and that also includes bringing resources in from fires that are currently burning, but maybe not as intense as what we're seeing right here today.
Can you touch any more on cause?
Still under investigation. Obviously, there was not any thunderstorm, lightning activity in the area in the last 24 hours, so it is going to be human caused, but at this point, it's too early to tell. And remember, human cause does not have to do with malicious intent. It could be any number of things. So we'll keep looking at that with our investigation teams.
Reports on a possible fire breaking out at Highway 197 east of 8 Mile Road. Is that new, or is that potentially a flare-up from a past fire?
I don't. Have you gotten any information on that? That would be new to me. Do you have something?
Yeah, we'd have to follow up with you. We've been working with the local agencies as far as potential new fires that have come, but I can't confirm that at this time.
Still fires like this.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you able to talk much about a structure out here on South Valley Road that is burned and there's some yellow flags, yellow tape around there? Is that a primary part of the investigation, or have you looked at that area?
I do know in that general area off of South Valley Road is our origin for the fire, specifically to that residence. I don't have any information at this time.
Okay, you've been listening to the press conference talking about the South Valley fire and what they know, and there are some highlights. One of the big things they talked about is the winds have shifted and are pushing the fire back into itself, which is huge because now it's going to try to maybe put itself out and not burn new material, and hopefully the winds won't switch back. They don't know how many houses have been burned. The threatened homes right now, 172, 516 people evacuated. There were a lot of close calls, but there have been no more losses of homes since yesterday, and no cause yet.
There are 6 task forces out there working on this specifically. They also said there will be a community meeting sometime in the next 24 hours for folks who have any questions on this fire, and our coverage of that will continue. But for now, we'll be right back.